Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. Today is May 9th, 2025, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, Bitcoin breaks out to the upside. But first, looking at today's major economic events, we have a 2:30 South African time. From Canada, we have an employment change number coming out. Now looking at the market, starting out with the Forex symbols, the euro retracing. As that sold off, we did mention that, and so does the Japanese yen. We're going to take a look at that. Now, looking at the indices, Dow Jones and the NASDAQ continue to advance. And as we shift over to commodities, gold bounces from that sell-off just a little bit, and oil on resistance-ish level at $60 a barrel. Now, looking at the stocks, bank stocks are very strong, while Disney gets a huge gap up after quarterly earning reports. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin just goes up above 100K, and Ethereum just explodes. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. First with the Euro USD. Now it did retrace just a little bit lower. It is in a range of support. What do I mean by that? Right now it's bouncing off its 8-day moving average. That's the blue line. Now if you look, previously, we had resistance at 111.86. So between 111.86 and 112.40-ish level, which is 60 pips, okay? That's the range. I do have something like support-ish level, so keep that in mind. Now, jumping into some of the other, let's look at the other major, lost train of thought. Let's take a look at the Japanese yen. Yes, it did get a little bit of a bounce here as it went to 145. Now, it's also on resistance-ish level as well. Now, remember, the Japanese yen gets weaker when it goes higher. It means that the dollar is able to buy more Japanese yen, right? It's the Euro USD and it's the USD Japanese yen. It's flipped, right? So consider that and keep that in mind. Now, looking at commodities, gold bouncing off of that supportish level. It's a little bit of a supportish level. It just hit it. That's the thing. You know, if you look at a 1-hour chart, you can't see it. It just hit it just barely at that 32.72-ish level and bouncing off of it. Now, all intents and purposes, it's a choppy market for gold, okay? Nothing is really clear here. If I zoom out a little bit, yes, we're still in an upwards momentum. We're kind of stalled. So we may do one or two things. Either we'll retrace, either we'll continue consolidating and trading sideways, or either we'll break out higher, okay? All options are on the table right now, okay? All intents and purposes, there's no like clear indication where I have a double top or some sort of like a sell-off that's, you know, kind of correcting itself right away, okay? It's a little bit reluctant to sell off, okay? It's a little bit stubborn about that, but at the same time, it's not breaking out higher, okay? So it's kind of finding itself a new kind of consolidation area, at least for now. So keep that in mind when we look at gold. Looking at crude oil, we are on resistance-ish level right here at $60 a barrel. Okay, that did make a huge comeback this past week from our $58 a barrel this week as we had a gap down. You can see that big price gap down there. Now, looking at the U.S. markets, yes, they extended their gains just slightly, okay? Now, they're at resistance-ish area. The Dow Jones should like pop out of here, okay? And the reason I say that is because the bank stocks have been strong, but they haven't popped out either. So let's take a look at them, okay? But before we do, let's take a look at the NASDAQ also at that resistance-ish area. Now remember, we made a huge comeback. That's a 50% comeback from our sell-off. But the question is whether or not this is sustainable, okay? Whether or not we're going to have another sell-off, and that's something to consider. Now, looking at the individual stocks, so let's take a look at JP Morgan. You see it, okay? It's trading almost in tandem, exactly like the Dow Jones. And if we look at the Bank of America, same story, okay? Bounced off of it. Would expect it a bit higher, about the $43 range, okay? But it is a bit lower, but it has made a decent comeback as we look at that. Now, looking at the other major financial corporations, Google is not strong, okay? Look at that, a decent sell-off yesterday, okay, in intraday, going from 164 down to 150. That's a decent sell-off for Google. And as we look at the other big names, okay, Amazon struggling here, okay? It did bounce, but it's struggling, okay? If we look at Tesla, it's still on its resistance-ish level, okay? Facebook on its resistance-ish level, so nothing really breaking out. The one that is breaking out is Netflix. Netflix is trading at $144 a share, just off of its highs of $11.66. And the reason I had this monthly up is just to show from 2020, where were you 5 years ago, okay, to where we are right now. We've gone up 1,000 points. So if you put in $100,000 in Netflix today, you would have had $1 million. Just 5 years. Amazing return every single year. It would make in 5 years $200,000 every single year until today. Unbelievable return. Who would have known? No, but not all of us, okay? But the point is that if we kind of like look at the markets and kind of anticipate some of these moves on a day-to-day basis, you kind of find out that there's a trend and a larger trend forming, and sure enough, this is it, okay? Especially when it broke up above 685, just exploded since then. Now, lastly, let's take a look at Bitcoin as that has the explosion. Now, I want to highlight this again and look at the videos, look at the market reviews that I've had for Bitcoin over the past 2 months, because I did mention several times, markets are selling off, but Bitcoin's strong. Markets are selling off, Bitcoin's strong. And sure enough, when the markets turn up, Bitcoin is the first one to go up, okay? And it exploded above 100K. We're almost at our highs, okay? Only about 10% away from our all-time record highs. So this is super important. And some are estimating this could go up as far as 500K on the upside. So yes, there's a divergence in the markets, and sure enough, Bitcoin is getting the benefit of it. Excuse me. That's it on the daily review. We'll see you here next week. God bless everybody. Have a good weekend.